Throughout film history, the ideological representation of certain beliefs and subject matters of race, culture, class, and gender have been implemented very heavily and carried out into society. Specifically, the certain ideological representation of women on screen has been one of the most controversial topics due to the way men in charge of the industry objectify women rather than acknowledging them as human beings just like them. Ideology is defined as a system of beliefs that are characteristics of a particular class or group. Ideology refers to the values, viewpoints, meanings, and messages that a media text such as film might be able to communicate to the viewer. Ideological beliefs are a contingent on a couple of things like the differences in culture, historical eras, race, genders, and class. Representation signals that filmed images, like all kinds of language work, are constructions of representations of an apparently real world, not simple presentations or transparent windows onto it. In this sense, film takes the ideas from the world around us and reconstructs it into stories. As a result, film has the ability to engage with issues through representing aspects of our world like family, race, class, gender, sexual difference, and the gamut of other kinds of representations evident in society. The focus on gender representation in films, specifically the representation of women, has become a very important topic due to the unrealistic depiction men have created, which has also impacted the social influence of what women should be and presented as. Through stories presented on screen showcasing the injustices, adversities, and social pressure of women have helped shift a movement in history now presenting women in a new light at the forefront of media and society. Through the use of film and media creates ego ideals for the spectator via the stars of the film and the way they are physically and characteristically represented. The male spectator is not only the audience member, but is also the main male protagonist of the film. The spectator's look is essentially through that of the main male protagonist, which gives the feeling of control over the female image and a sense of satisfaction. Recently in film, the lead characters have been strong and empowering females, who is the one to overcome the evil and saving the day. In these films and shows, the girl sometimes ends up getting the man, and we see the roles reverse. Instead of the typical she needs the man to complete her complex, she wants the man on her terms. Films like these have especially been catered towards children, with films like Mulan, where she denies the traditional Chinese ways, being told it will bring dishonor as women have their place in society and need to be a certain way. She decides to fight for her family and country to bring honor. In the film Brave, we see Meredith, a young woman who doesn't want to be restricted to the man and she wants to be her own person. She's presented with an arranged marriage she wants nothing to do with and decides to fight for her own hand in marriage as she wants to live her own life by her own rules. Although Disney is notorious for buying into the stereotype of women being helpless and complete once a man loves her, they have begun to shift away from that outdated form. Even with the Scooby-Doo live-action movies, they took the original stereotypical sexist traits of the female characters and used those to then make the female lead strong, empowering characters who are valuable and vital to the story.
Now who's the damsel in distress? Me? Straight up.
Through the misogynistic representation of women on film throughout history, it has placed the idea that the female is weaker, and the depiction has transferred off-screen and into society, setting the standards of how women should be treated and what their worth is. It has been so ingrained into us and normalized we may not even realize when it is happening or when we are partaking in this wrongful practice. Through the rise of female empowerment in film in the last 20 years has allowed more fictional and biographical stories to be showcased, allowing women to have their own voice in society. More stories of women by women are beginning to be told from the perspective and the importance of it. Because of the predominantly male industry, there have only been 4% of feature films made by women in the past 13 years. With the type of men occupying these major roles and making these decisions, we are being and have been conditioned to think one way, and that also goes in hand with other topics such as race, culture, and class. With predominantly male-driven movies, the female is always represented as waiting around for the man to beat all the bad guys and then save the day and win the girl as his prize, creating a complex that the male is always the hero and the woman is there to be the man's prize. The difference between films like The Wizard of Oz and Star Wars, we see Dorothy and all the most wise, powerful being female. The difference in films like Star Wars, which are mainly catered towards boys, the story is made up of predominantly men and very few girls, and the females just doing nothing, waiting around for the boys. Through the film Battle of Sexes, based on true events following tennis legend and gender equality activist Billie Jean King and the overtly sexist Bobby Riggs. In the 1970s, equal prize money for tennis tournaments with the top prize for women only 1/8 of the men. In protest, King and Gladys Heldman created their own women's tour, forming the Women's Tennis Association in 1973 and eventually forcing the US Tennis Association to raise pay for female players. The consistently reiterated sexist idea that female and male players or audience interest an unfounded claim by top dogs at the USTA that Riggs echoes in his boast that he can beat any woman on the court even at age 55. King eventually agrees to take on Riggs to disprove his claims of the iconic Battle of the Sexes match. This film is able to directly showcase the misogynistic views imprinted into men in society and face them head on and present the historical time period. King goes on to beat Riggs and prove his claims that women aren't equal to men in sports wrong and overcome all the misogynistic and sexist views he has made public. Through a film like this, the effect on audience is able to not just showcase that women are equal, but things such as sport are not just for men, allowing women to enter society as people and not just pets. These films are not just showing a female overcome the adversities that are dropped upon them since birth, but is finally presenting an educational experience for people instead of sweeping it under the rug. The ideological representation of what women and men should be throughout history on screen has been a poisonous construct that has made its way into more than just gender, but also race, religion, and class. Because of how powerful film is and the impact on society, we are now experiencing a revolution due to the injustice against women from all different backgrounds. A lot of progress has been made, but there is still a long way to go, as we are only just at the beginning.
Women, they have minds. And they have souls, as well as just hearts. And they've got ambition, and they've got talent, as well as just beauty. And I'm so sick of people saying that love is just all a woman is fit for. I'm so sick of it.